Ocotillo Performing Arts Center in downtown Artesia. Admission to the forum is free of charge. For those who do not wish to attend in person, the forum will also be broadcast on KSVP Radio and video ksvptv.com. To have your event listed on the KSVP community calendar, email calendar@ksvpradio.com. Please let us know at least 1 week in advance.
This is KSVP and K229 AS Artesia.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden is getting rebukes from at home and abroad over his suggestion a Russian invasion of Ukraine could be seen as a minor incursion. Bob Agnew reports.
Tennessee Republican Senator Ted Hagerty says the president's words indicate he has no plans to stand up to Russia's Vladimir Putin.
It's the equivalent of an invitation, the way I read it.
Hagerty tells the Salem radio network the president seems to be addressing the Ukraine issue from a standpoint of weakness.
He's deploying a policy of maximum deference rather than the maximum pressure policies of the previous administration.
After an angry response from Ukraine's president, Mr. Biden sought to clarify his remarks to say any movement of Russian troops inside Ukraine would be seen as an invasion. Bob Agnew reporting.
The first flights carrying fresh water and other aid to Tonga finally have arrived after an airport runway was cleared of ash and a huge volcanic eruption. Foreign correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
New Zealand and Australia each sent military transport planes carrying water containers, kits for temporary shelters, generators, hygiene supplies and
And good evening, everybody. Mike Winters here with you, and welcome to KSVP Radio and KSVP TV's live coverage of the Artesia Municipal Candidate Forum for the mayoral race. We're here broadcasting live from the Ocotillo Performing Arts Center in Artesia, New Mexico, and tonight we have looks like all 5 of the candidates for mayor of Artesia on stage here tonight. Gene Dow will be moderating tonight's candidate forum, and whenever I get the signal from him, I will let them know, and we'll turn things down to him on the stage.
We're good to go, aren't we?
We are ready to go.
All right.
So I'm
good
going
evening,
to,
ladies and
turn things
gentlemen, and
over
welcome to
Gene
our
Dow
live
for
broadcast of our Meet the Mayors Forum. At this point, usually you applaud for the public address announcer and the host of the program. I'm Gene Dow. Thanks very much for coming out. We appreciate it. There's some folks we want to say thanks to. Of course, we want to say thank you to Haley Klein and her staff from the Artesia Chamber of Commerce for helping put this event together. Thank you, Haley. Of course, we have this beautiful facility here in Artesia, the Ocotillo Performing Arts Center. Candace Green and her staff are hosting us tonight. Thank you so much, Candace. I always like to say thanks to the sound guy, especially before anything goes wrong. But Max Salgado, Max, thank you so much for running sound for us tonight. That way you know who to blame. And of course, from our staff, we want to say thanks to our video producer, Tanner Todd, and our radio producer, Mike Winters. They're up in the booth tonight from KSVP TV. Thank you so much. Tonight, we want to get to know a little bit about these gentlemen who are running for mayor. We have 5 candidates. It's been a while since we've had this many people express an interest in wanting to be the mayor of Artesia. That could be good, that could be bad, but we're going to get to know a little bit more about them tonight. We hope that the questions that we ask and the answers that they give answer some of your questions or concerns about these individual candidates. Maybe it'll even raise some more questions and give you an opportunity to ask. The candidates have all been meeting folks in the lobby, and we encourage you to continue to meet with them, ask them questions, and get to know them. We wanted to do this forum at this time because it's well ahead of early voting and the time that we're actually going to get to start casting ballots, and so we want to make sure that you have a chance to meet these folks before you get a chance to go out and vote, or as we like to say in Mississippi, vote early and often. But that was another time when I was in another state. Now, each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Then we're going to go around the group with the questions that we have. The first candidate to get the question will get 2 minutes to answer the question, and then each of the other candidates will have 1 minute to respond. I've got a timer on this phone here somewhere that I'll hold up here, and it'll do a little beep, beep, ding, ding when we get to the 2 minute mark. And hopefully you guys will be like law enforcement candidates. We did a sheriff's candidate forum, and everybody that was involved in law enforcement or had a military background, when they heard the ding, they stopped. So maybe we can get that kind of cooperation tonight. That would be great. We'll get halfway through the questions. We'll probably take a little 10-minute intermission, give everybody a chance to kind of take a break, and we want to be done and out of here by 8 o'clock, 7:45, 9:30, 10, something like that. I'll be like I may be here, that's right. So we'll do that. So let's introduce our candidates, and as I introduce the candidate, you can applaud for them if you like, and then they can give their 2-minute opening statement. So we're going to start. This is in no particular order. I just wrote names down in order. We're going to start with Jeff Yazzie. Jeff?
Good evening, everybody, and those of you out there in TV land. Thanks, Gene and Chamber and all these good people that put this on. I'd like to spend my open time with you a little differently than maybe the other candidates would. I'd like to offer you a review of my foundation in Artesia. My great-grandfather Martin came to Artesia in 1918 when our city was only 13 years old. His soon-to-be wife arrived in 1920. They both worked for and retired from Artesia Public Schools during their lifetime and parented 8 children along the way. One of those children was my grandmother, Alta Walker, who was a cafeteria manager for the schools for many, many years. She's probably fed most of the people in this room many times. Her and my grandfather, J.C., worked a combined 72 years for Artesia Public Schools before retirement. The first Yazzie generation to arrive in Artesia were my grandparents, Clarence and Celia Yazzie. They arrived in the mid to late 30s, escaping the Oklahoma Dust Bowl. He worked as a carpenter and helped to construct many of the homes that still stand today. My father, Dwight, attended Artesia High, as did my mother, Vesta. They both worked and lived in Artesia, retiring in the mid-90s. My mother still lives happily in our community and is here with us tonight. My sister, Nancy Peterson, resides here as well and recently retired from Artesia Public Schools, where she taught first grade. My wife, Penny, has also worked for our school system for over 20 years and is active in the community. My daughter, Chelsea, is an ER nurse at Artesia General. My son, Chandler, recently graduated from Texas Tech and is pursuing a career in construction engineering. My 2 grandchildren, Jad and Jax, will be yet another generation to have the values and traditions of Artesia instilled into their raising. I tell you these things so that I can now tell you this, and you will leave here tonight with the confidence that it is true. I am a fully vested member of this community, and that membership began over 100 years ago. My loyalty is to Artesia first and always. My relatives helped to lay the foundation for the Artesia you see today. Not just the bricks and mortar, but the values and traditions as well. My family and I continue to pursue avenues to both enhance and improve the community we call home. I've served 10 years as a District 3 counselor. This experience in city government will enhance my ability to serve you well as our next mayor. I am beholden to no one but our citizens. I will work tirelessly to improve on the traditions and values each of you holds so dear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will turn our attention to Luis Flores. Your turn.
Honorable candidates, Mr. Moderator, the news media, family, friends, and citizens, thank all of you for attending tonight's mayoral forum. My name is Luis Flores, candidate for mayor of Artesia. Let me be upfront about this group of candidates. I know each of them personally, have worked with them, and have the most respect for each of them. The following reasons is why I feel strongly about running for the position of mayor. Artesia deserves a mayor who listens to all constituents, who leads by example, and is passionate about doing the right thing for the right reason. Artesia deserves a mayor who demonstrates respect for our senior citizens by promoting the center's programs and by volunteering his time and talents to the center. Artesia deserves, it deserves a mayor who shows respect for our veterans by promoting community veterans events, including Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Artesia deserves a mayor who has extensive experience as a city councilor, mayor pro tem, in order to efficiently execute the day-to-day business of the city, and while doing so, always demonstrates strong respect for all our city employees. Artesia deserves a mayor who maintains communication with our schools. As a former school member, in order to help, as a former school board member, in order to help reduce disruptions to our school kids' education as it relates to our city infrastructure. Artesia deserves a mayor who works hard to ensure a harmonious, effective working relationship with our FLETC partners. Artesia deserves a mayor who strongly supports our local refinery, oil and gas, farm and ranch, dairies, and other local service industries. Finally, Artesia deserves a mayor who will represent our community with decency and respect. Thank you.
Next on our list, let's meet Mr. John Henry. John?
All right. Good evening. I'm John Henry. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and KSVP for making this debate possible. It's an honor to stand before you on this stage with these men and present my vision for Artesia. This town became home to us, and with the pride of planting some roots, the desire to serve, to make a difference became important. To grow our area, to improve the lives of those living here. When I became an Eddy County Commissioner 5 years ago, I sat on a board that didn't always agree with our vision of improving and fixing county issues. I never gave up and I never gave in. I stayed persistent, and now I'm happy to say that Eddy County has made huge strides in road improvements, increased support and pay for our Sheriff's Department, and organized, instructed, and held accountable all of our departments. This didn't happen overnight, and in fact, I can confidently say change in leadership was needed to accomplish this. And with an election much like this one, that's what happened. You see, I believe Artesia is much like Eddy County was at that time. We are on the cusp of staying the same, maintaining the status quo, or making a bold choice for measurable growth and improvements with one eye on the distant future. Your vote in this election is important. It will truly dictate our city, the direction our city will take for the next 4 years. I'm not short-sighted in anything I do. I look down the road at every possibility, and I attempt to build a foundation that will support our vision and dreams. That's what I've done as a businessman. That's what I've done as a family man. But don't be fooled into thinking this election cycle is just about this 4 years. It's time to dream big, Artesia, because Artesia is worth it. When I become mayor, I will focus my efforts on what I see as 3 pressing priorities: emergency services, quality of life, and housing. It will not be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. I look forward to being able to answer your questions tonight and give you a plan of attack how a city council, led by me, can get this done. Thank you.
Next, let's meet Mr. Terry Hill. Terry?
Well, I want to thank everybody, Gene, Haley, for putting this event on this evening. It's important that the community gets to hear from the candidates and what have you, and there's a good crowd out here this evening, and I'm glad for that. My family came here in 1957. So anyway, I've been in school system, graduated here in '67. Went to work in the potash mines after the oil field went to the potash mines, worked there for 20 years, then up here at the refinery for another 20 years. Out to the asphalt plant where I was a plant manager out there for another 4 years, and finally retired. During that time frame, I spent 33 years in the National Guard. Held a lot of commands, battalion commander, 4th Battalion. I was Inspector General for the state for, and then just had all kinds of commands, stuff like that. Then I was asked in 2005 to come on the council to finish out the term that Jimmy Boyce had vacated. I've been on council ever since. I've served under four mayors. I've also been pro tem, with the exception of 2 years since George Holmes left. I look forward to staying on as the mayor. We've got a lot of, I've served on every committee, and I'm asking for your vote. Got a lot of work to do yet. We've got a good selection of candidates up here, and appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
And our 5th candidate we'd like you to meet tonight, Mr. Kent Bratcher. Kent?
I may walk. I can't just stand there and anyhow. Number one, I want to appreciate you guys for all showing up. I know Jeff and I worked together for several years. John Henry and I are actually kind of kin in a way. Terry, you've been a lot to me. Luis, thank you, Gene, Haley, for putting this on. To follow the lead is any of you old enough to see The Grapes of Wrath? You've seen that. That was my grandparents moving around during the Depression days, and they landed out at Lakewood. My dad was the 12th child of 13, and they stayed around, and he graduated from Artesia High School. He and so did my mom. They actually got married at Christmas time, so she started her senior year as a Falk and ended as a Bratcher. So that I don't know if that's happened very much, but my dad too joined the National Guard, served with Terry for over 30 years. That's near and dear to my heart, and. You guys too know that my parents ran the Tasty Freeze or Ruth's restaurant, and a lot of you have eaten there and probably still miss the onion rings. I know I do. That was one of my favorites. I too, like John, there's some things that I want to work on. Is retention in our fire and police department. Right now we're down about 7 firefighters. And we're about 9. The success rate of a firefighter going to the academy, our rate has been about 50%. So if we hire 6, maybe 3 of them will get through everything. So that's why there's that. I want to work on that. I want to increase their pay. We've been offered opportunity to be able to give a stipend to a retention stipend to all city employees, and then through a generous donation by the PY Foundation, we were able to give the police and fire some as well. By that donation, we were able to do the rest of the city employees, so no one was left out. No one was left out. I want to look at our retirement, make it to a better retirement. We have diversified now, I spent 17 years in the city as a firefighter, EMT, and then I worked at Navajo as the fire chief and safety supervisor. So I've been under I've seen the pay scale difference, and we can't keep up with Navajo as a city or the oil field as a city, but we can keep up with some of the counties and cities around Artesia as far as our salary structures go. There's a 457 plan out there for retirement that we can look at. That's a little bit more accessible to employees. Right now they're diversified, and you're going to have to call them. And you know, guys know that when you call, you get placed on hold, or you're a robocall or whatever. So, the retirement, that's a big issue for the employees as well. John mentioned affordable housing. The Artesia Public Schools, Luis, has done a great job in doing teacherages for these teachers that are just coming out of school that can't afford rent, $1,200 rent, or $1,400 rent, or something like that. They're lucky if they can pay $700 or $800 rent. But with the teacherages, they're paying half of that, $300, $350. Some of them are more. They can save up money and be able to possibly purchase a home after they stay with that. Quality of life. I've heard a lot about that. What is quality of life? Growing up, it was outside playing in the sprinkler, catching frogs by the street light, riding our bicycles everywhere, not inside, and we were getting a lot of trouble, played a lot of baseball. So we have a lot of money leaving town every Friday night or Saturday, going to shopping or going elsewhere, going to the movies. Peyton, I'll call you out, I used to see you at the movies every now and then. I miss that. Sherry and I have been going to movies together for 37 years. And that's just one of our things that we like to do. So I'd like to see that. Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, you could probably take a gun and shoot from 13th all the way to 1st Street and not hit a soul. That's kind of sad. And we have no restaurants really open. There's a few, Adobe Rose and some others that are open, usually in the evenings, but unless you want a hamburger or something, that's all you've got. And I'd like to see that and bring some businesses in that are open for the weekend. But it sounds like a lot of a big agenda, but I just probably said it more than what John did, but it's basically they're about the same. We need to retain our employees, not just police and fire, all of our employees. They're all, our HR director said, so which city employee is most important? It's the one you need right now. Whether it's your water is shooting. Important if you get a hold of him and get him to shut off your water.
Okay. Kent, we need to.
Okay, I didn't hear the ding.
I'm making it.
Okay, all right, okay. You're making the ding ding?
I'm making the ding ding.
Okay,
so.
all right. But anyhow, I thank everybody for putting this together and look forward to speaking.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I did fix it, so it's working now. So I wasn't running it during the opening statement, so. All right, we're going to start with our first question, and Kent, we'll start with you. 4 of you have been or are currently city council members, and 1 of you, I believe, is a county commissioner. I think I heard that. What do you expect to be able to do as mayor that hasn't been done or you didn't get to do as a voting member of the city council? Kent, we'll start with you, 2 minutes.
One thing I forgot to mention is I'm retired now. As you can, Joe Shield, where are you? He was here. If I let it grow, I got your beat, maybe. But I had worked many years where I couldn't wear it. But anyhow, I'd like to to get some of these programs and to be accessible. I've heard a lot of comments that our current mayor was not accessible, or would not comment on certain issues. I want to be more transparent than that. I would like to put out a blog or something like that where people can see that, or if Gene would let me. I know he meets with the mayor every 2 weeks, but I would like to do that in order to get some of these programs started. One glaring issue that I think is parts of our town are run down. The code enforcement officer, I think we have got I call them OFI's, opportunity for improvement, for cleaning up some of the dilapidated housing, the burned out houses. There's a couple that I have in mind. There's one over on Dallas, just a few streets from me. There's one over on JJ. But anyhow, but stay on the top of that and be proud of our community when you drive in from the north or the south or east or west. And I know Linda works real hard as far as Clean and Beautiful, but you could probably use a lot more help, right? So is that the beep?
Well, it's 2, 1.
All right.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, we'll just go down. Jeff, you've got 60 seconds on this one,
Sure,
if you would,
thank
please.
Wow. Served 10 years as a city councilor. Got to see a lot of good stuff happen in our community. Always in the back of my mind is, man, if I could just do things a little different, if I was in a position to where maybe I was the one deciding how we're going to run our administration, here's things I would do different, things I've seen successful in my career at work, in my personal life. So the two major things I would do right away, and this isn't so much a task, to equip your people for success. You don't micromanage your people. You give your people, your department heads, your employees, the tools they need to succeed. We pay our department heads very well. They don't need us micromanaging them. What they need is direction. We can't just aimlessly shoot at problems as they come up. We need to establish goals, hold our department heads accountable to accomplish those goals, and that way we're able to build a plan, even a short-term plan, long-term plan. I think that's what the community needs. And another piece of this is that we need the community's input on what those goals are.
Okay.
You know.
All right, that's
Okay.
it done. So,
Thank you.
All right, Luis, 1 minute on that question.
Sure. Thank you. I believe it would be tied to what Councilor Yazzie just said. I think it is an employment, the employee side of things is what I would concentrate on, and one of them especially is the trying to keep the pay scales for the EMS, the fire and the police, comparable. And what's been happening is that as we worked, when I was on the council, as we worked to try to elevate and keep these salaries and benefits competitive, next thing you know, FLETC would hire our new trainees or experienced officers, fire department, or the county would go and the sheriff's department would raise their salaries and benefits to attract them. Of course, our new recruits from the city would end up over there. So it became where we were just providing a training ground for these employees to go elsewhere. What I think it requires is some legislation, and I don't know at what level. It could be handled at the county level maybe, or maybe at the state level, but it requires something that there's an agreement for situations such as our community has, where we're competing with our own folks in this community.
Okay. Look, right, wait a minute.
Thank you.
It didn't bing, but I'll try to wave at you guys when we get to 1 minute. Terry, you get a chance here for a minute to answer that question.
Well, they keep talking about, I hear a lot about the wages for police and fire and stuff like that. We cannot compete, Artesia cannot, with a 1.4 budget. 1.4 million is what we budget. And anyway, you go against the county sheriff, and the county is, their budget is somewhere around 5 million, something like that. And they can afford to pay a little more. Matter of fact, I seen this afternoon where Sheriff Cage wanted 4 more officers, and the commission gave him 6. That means that we have a possibility of losing positions up here, of those guys transitioning over to the county. As far as budget and stuff like that, no way can the city compete with the civilian jobs and stuff like that, because we can't pass that along to the consumer.
Okay, and we have 1 minute on this question for John, if you would do that.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll have a police and fire question at some point, but that's the #1 priority. We've got to shore up our police and fire department. I think that's across the board. That sounds like it. Second thing, I think we've got to create a vision, right? We have great department heads. We have great partners that partner with us. But if we don't have a vision as a city council to help understand where we're going, when these people come in, we don't have a direction. So we've got to come together as a group, create that vision, and make sure when we're partnering with people, when the department heads come in, they understand where we're headed. That's what we did at the county. We created that vision to make sure we were all on the same page, so when we're moving as a team. It's a team effort. It doesn't matter where you are. That vision has got to come right away and right from the start. So you've got to have that vision, but police and fire has got to be the first part of it. I'd love to talk more about it, because I got quite a bit to say about police and fire, especially with county. I mean, that's been mentioned a few times. So, and I am the county commissioner, in case y'all are wondering. So we're different, but so I haven't had a chance to fix it in the city, but I'd like to.
Okay, very good. All right, our second question, and we'll start Jeff on this one. Gets this one first, so 2 minutes for Jeff. A lot has been said about pushing back against the governor and the mandates, especially during the COVID era. As mayor, what would you do differently, or would you do anything differently from what our current mayor has done in regards to these governor mandates that have happened over the last few years?
So first of all, I wouldn't sit up here and pick apart our mayor or our current council or anybody else. I have talked to our mayor about this, and I'll tell you what I told him. I said, Ray, any one of us would have reacted probably different than you. Nobody has been through this. You reacted the way you felt you needed to. Whether we all agree with you is up to public opinion. Yes, there are some things I would have done differently. I think we could have communicated with our citizens better. I think a lot of our citizens felt like they were in the dark. They weren't so much against what we were doing, they just didn't know what we were doing. So I think that's very important. We're not through this yet, folks. I guess we all realize that. So another piece of that, I had it on the tip of my tongue. I think some of our city-owned business, or not businesses, but like our museum, senior center, some of these areas that we had, library, that were closed for extended periods of time. I think if I'd have had it my way, we would have found ways to get those opened back up a lot sooner than we did. They created a lot of heartache, some division. But as a councilman, you're one voice. You make your voice. As a group, we make decisions, and then we back each other up. So that's basically the way things went down. Would I do things a little differently? Yes, and communication would be the main piece there. I think that's what was lacking. I'm not even really going to get into my personal thoughts on this overbearing, I will use that word, these overbearing mandates that have come down the pipes from not only the state but the federal government. It enrages me. As a counselor, I feel like I need, and more especially as a candidate for mayor, I need to kind of control what Jeff thinks and think more about what's better for the city of Artesia. So I'm going to leave it right there on my feelings, and thank you.
All right, 1 minute for a response. Luis, you're next.
Questions?
Sure. Lots been said about pushing back against the governor and the mandates, especially during what we went through during the COVID area. Is there anything as mayor that you would do differently from what perhaps Mayor Miller did during his tenure?
Well, it's hard to second guess predecessors. You know, it's just hard because Mr. Yazzie just hit on a lot of parts of that. It's an unprecedented time in our history for this to occur, so you're basically trying to wing everything. But I think the bottom line is communication, and that's what I'm about. You have to address the public, get them on board, and tell them what you need to do. Secondly, you have to get their support, because the only way you're going to change it is as a group of people, okay, to present themselves to the governor and say, this is what needs to change, or this is what we want to do, okay? We experienced this on the school board. Some of you may have attended those meetings, but for the first time in a long time, I had not seen such rancor, I guess. And it was just because we were behind the 8 ball on that one. But we got it in motion, so at least that we accomplished something. But that's, communication is the key, and that's what I would change on how we do that.
Very good. Terry.
Thank you, Gene. You know, the mayor made that call. We, as a council, he explained to us his method of thinking towards that. He was invited by several of the communities around to join and sign up on a letter to the governor and this, that, and the other. He chose not to. He was pushing back as best he possibly could without drawing the fire. And I think that some of the other communities, Lovington in particular, they were going to open up a golf course, I think it was, anyway, $7,000, you know, fine. They was going to charge them and this, that, and the other. Anyway, the governor has no sympathy for that. Thank you.
Okay. John, you get a minute on this question, please.
I think the one thing everyone has to understand is we could not have just opened. That's something a lot of people wanted, and that wasn't possible. Unfortunately, the way our rules are within the state, the governor did hold the power. I think the communication part is the biggest piece of the whole thing. If you're not going to fight, at least tell us why you're not. Now, I'm not going to second guess the mayor, but I can tell you what I did. As an elected official, y'all elected me not to be silent. Y'all elected me to be your voice. And everyone in town, the small businesses, the kids, you know, were asking us to fight and be their voice against the governor. Did it make a difference? No. We filed lawsuits. I personally put in money for filing lawsuits. The county passed a resolution to try to open up the schools. I didn't think that was strong enough. So if y'all remember, I collected letters from teachers, from kids, from anybody that would participate, so that when we sent that resolution to the governor and it sat on her desk, it wasn't just a little piece of paper from Eddy County. It was a stack of papers that she had to look at and justify her decisions. So I guess the one thing I would have done different is I'm not elected to be quiet. I'm elected to make sure y'all's voice is heard.
All right. And Kent, you are the last one to get to answer this question.
One of my campaign slogan is a leader who listens. And when we had people coming to City Hall and attending council meetings, they were saying they wanted the library back open. And I know that there are ways that we could have done that. And the mayor, again, I don't want to second guess him. He's in a hot seat, but I myself would have been trying to figure out a way to keep our city facilities open. I think we deserve that. We all pay taxes. These mandates sometimes, you know, you heard about the mayor and Grants that wanted to open a golf course or whatever, so, and he got in trouble. But anyhow, I think there's a safe way to do that, and the schools are operating now, and there's a safe way to do that as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Question number 3, and we'll start with Luis Flores on this question. How would you describe the crime problem in Artesia that we have right now? How big an issue is it, and what should be done to fight crime in the city of Artesia right now? And you have 2 minutes on this one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Well, first of all, part of the problem with crime in Artesia is greatly exacerbated by the Highway 285 corridor. I mean, they've done studies, they've shown, you know, drug bust after drug bust. So it's just a convenient route for through, and while they're passing through, they commit, you know, crimes. So it ties in with the very first question on dealing with or at least my response on how you beef up the police force and what we see the problem. It's just a tremendous problem that trying to maintain a force that's strong enough without having to train more folks, because they keep leaving, as I expressed earlier, for different reasons. So you have to get the benefits and establish whatever's required to establish first a group, a cadre of police trainers to keep our police force going. But that's the only way, because you're not going to keep up with that. And then the other part is working interagency with the county, you know, and I'm sure the law enforcement could speak better to that. I'm not a law enforcement guy, so, but I do know that the problem stems from maintaining a force here. But that's the only way you're going to address it. And believe me, it affects everybody, okay? But before you'd have to involve the state police, the county and sheriff in order to rectify that situation.
Very good. Terry, you get to respond 1 minute on that question.
Well, we are short of officers in the community, but we're not short of criminals, it seems, at times. Vandalism, things of this nature is happening all the time. The drug scene, it's horrible. And now we've got the fentanyl coming in. That's a deadly drug, and one time will do it. But as far as the better patrols, more officers on the street, we need to try to continue to recruit and get more officers and to address these issues. It's cyclic as far as some things, graffiti, stuff like that, whenever school's out in the summer and what have you. When it gets cold like this, we're not facing that type of stuff. But that's what we need, I think.
Very good. John, you get to take this question next, please.
Okay, well, obviously we need to shore up our police department, make sure those voids are filled. make sure they're taken care of, make sure they have the equipment they need. The one thing we've done at the county, if y'all remember, on 285, there was about 1 or 2 deaths a day, or not a day, a week, a couple, what, a year and a half ago when the oil field was so big. What we did is did add deputy sheriffs to it to attack that problem. And now we have a task force that attacked the 285. How often do you hear of a death on 285 going to Pecos now? I mean, we can't sit back and accept these things that, oh, well, we just don't have the means to take care of it. That's our duty. That's what we are as elected officials, whether it be city or county. Our duty is to make sure that our citizens are protected. And working together with the county and with the other cities, I think Terry mentioned that we've got to have a good interdepartment working relationship. When we pulled up, I noticed that there were 2 sheriffs and a Carlsbad policeman, go figure, had someone pulled over here. So obviously it's working. We've got to come together and work well together, because a strong Eddy County and a strong Artesia is just better for everyone in this room.
Very good, thank you. Kent, you get an opportunity to take this question.
I don't know, you give me always blame the sound guy. We do need to retain our officers. I met with the sergeants several months ago and talking about this very subject about being short. And I said, you guys are all sergeants, you're all leaders. Why haven't you left? Why haven't you left? Well, because if you go to the county, your training stops. We have some of the finest training that we allow our officers to go to, and I want to continue that. But we've got to get our pay up where we can retain those officers and continue to do the training that we've allowed our officers to do. And it's as simple as that. Being 7 or 9 down, that's crazy, because when you call 911, you're expecting the cavalry, right? We've got to find a way to fix that.
Very good. And Jeff, you have the last opportunity to answer this question.
We talked about police a lot. The first 4 did. I'm sure there's a full-blown question coming on police, so I'm going to save that for a later time. I have a feeling it's coming. So I just want to quote, this is a quote that I read a few years ago that really struck home. When our communities, children, and families fail, the next generation is just as likely to fail as well. So if we have children, young adults in our community that are not acting right, for lack of a better term, graffiti, we're staying out too late, we're not being chaperoned, whether it be that just starts a trend. That child is likely to grow up, and we just continue the cycle. So we've talked some about quality of life. There's probably a question coming on, what are you going to do for our youth? We got to take care of our kids, you know. They're the ones that are going to suffer. They're also the ones that we've got to try to train and keep them in a good environment so they don't become part of our crime problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question, as we move along, sounds like they kind of know what the questions are, but I don't even know what the questions are. No. Okay, number 4 question, and Terry, you get this first, so you'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. We've got a lot of bumpy, worn-out, cruddy roads here in Artesia, New Mexico, especially some of our major thoroughfares. What's holding the city back from being more aggressive when it comes to fixing our roads here in the city?
Gene, are you talking about in the city or?
Yeah, yes.
That one between Lovington and 529 is pretty rough yet. I'll be glad when they finish that one.
That's true.
However, we were fortunate enough to pass a bond, $90 million to do infrastructure recovery. In doing that, we've addressed streets, the main thoroughfares right now. We've got Hermosa, West Hermosa, from 13th. We've done, 20th Street we're getting ready to do. We've done a lot of that, but as we went through it, we didn't just tear the old road out and put in a new surface there. What we did, we went to down to the plumbing, if you would, and replaced the old water lines that have been in there for ages, sewer lines, stuff like that. So these things and new valves and things that will operate. But we continually do that. We're getting ready to do 26th Street out there from Hermosa on over to Main. Then 20th Street, we're getting ready to do that. So it's a continuing thing, and then we'll take from 13th and come back to 1st Street. We're getting into the engineering side of that right now. But there was $90 million that, you know, that we're putting forward towards that, bringing the streets and the infrastructures back up. It's not all of it, but at least whenever we did the main arteries and what have you, then we got the major water lines, and now we can drop down into, say, quarter of those areas and go in and address some of those. So, anyway.
Okay. Thank you. 8 seconds to spare. No, John, you can't have the 8 seconds.
Oh, darn it.
All right, 1 minute on the roads in Artesia.
Well, obviously in the county, I thought that's what you were going to get after is my roads. But no, we had the same problem, right? And I can remember sitting in a commission meeting and Commissioner Wood said, how much to fix the roads? And we got the answer, $1 billion. And I'm like, come on, that can't be accurate. So the county was very reactive and not proactive. And I think that's the same approach the city's going to have to take, right? We're going to have to be very proactive. We're going to have to actually drive the roads, figure out which roads, figure out what are your main corridors, try to attack them smartly, and then come up with a maintenance plan instead of just randomly running out there and, John called today, there's a pothole here, and go fill that pothole. You know, that wasn't working for the county. Now that we've actually got a plan in place, we're living that plan, we've actually fixed a great number of roads. I know if you live in the county, your road might not be perfect, I apologize, but it's probably much better than it was. Now when I'm getting calls, we're getting them fixed in a timely manner. That's because we had a department head that took the time to make sure we had that plan in place, and he's executing it.
Very good. Those 8 seconds are just floating around out there. Kent.
Yes, currently I'm the chairman of the infrastructure committee. I work closely with Byron, Terry, and Jeff. We're actually all three on that committee. We're very aggressive as far as wanting to do the streets. You look at 13th, the way that turned out north and south. I know we were just dreading that, but it turned out great. Hermosa looks great. 26 is going to look good. 20th, there's been a huge drainage problem there at Washington and 20th. You got school buses going up and down there. That's going to be repaired with a concrete intersection there. So there is a method to our madness, so to speak. And Byron does have a plan, and we do have some money set aside to do that and to finish that.
All right, now we'll add another 8 seconds to the floating around. We're up to 16. So, Jeff, go ahead and answer that question if you would, please.
So the other counselors pretty well addressed what our infrastructure plan is. Did the council 10 years ago, this community also passed and gave us permission to purchase $90 million in bonds. And we've been doing that for 10 years. Progressively, those of you that are members of our community have seen the orange barrels. We've basically taken the path where we're getting our arteries taken care of first, as Terry said, with new utilities underneath the road bed. So a few other notes I made on infrastructure since we're kind of in that area. Another program that I've wanted to do for several years is a sidewalk rehab program. You own your sidewalk. Well, for a lot of folks, if we start getting it deteriorates over time, there are people in this town that just flat cannot afford to fix that. I have some ideas to where we can help them financially to get that done and take care of our sidewalks. I also want to spend some more effort on our alley skirts and keeping our alleys clean. So thank you.
Okay. And Luis, you get the final word on this topic, if you would.
Thank you. I was on the tail end of my second term on the council, did participate on that infrastructure committee as well. So there is a plan in place, and for the folks that feel like their street is the worst in the city, they need to speak to their counselors. That's simply what happens, because we tried to take the worst case and fix those streets and the major thoroughfares through town. I live on Chisholm Street. That's pretty much a main drag for folks coming from the refinery to catch 8th Street right there. So it's starting to get its potholes around the area right there around the post office. But that's what it'll take. But it's not because of a lack of effort on the council, because I want to give these guys a break, because it's really, you take the biggest project you can afford to do at the time, because when you tear up a street, people are they'll yell at you, I tell you. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Question number 5, and I have John's name written by this one. We'll see what we get on this one. This is a nonpartisan election, the election for mayor.
Right.
But party affiliation, especially in recent times, often gives voters some insight into the candidate. What is your political party affiliation? Would you be willing to share that with our audience here tonight?
Oh, absolutely. For 2 minutes? I'm a Republican. No, I mean, a party affiliation, really, that shows I'm a Republican. That's great. What unfortunately, I think where we've lost sight on a lot of things, and that's why it's good some of these lower mayoral, municipality type elections don't have the R's and D's next to you, because really we've got to work together. I think Luis just said that, right? I mean, it's really important to work together to come up with ideas. And I think what we've really, especially see it at the state level, we now, according to the state of the state I just listened to last night, have a Republican governor. It must be an election year, because she's going to cut taxes. She's going to give money to the police. So she sounds very Republican, and that's really disheartening, because if she would have just crossed party lines, because it doesn't really matter if you're an R or D, we all have great ideas. You know, I'm beginning to wonder if you go real left, I'm not sure those ideas are good anymore, but if the middle of the ground folks, there's some good ideas there, and we should be able to come together and visit and talk and not have to live behind our R's and D's. If you vote party lines, you're making a mistake. That's why this debate is so important. Nobody, well, I guess you're gonna know now that I'm a Republican, but nobody really cares if you're a Republican. You should watch the debate and vote for the candidate that actually is gonna do what you need them to do, and they're actually gonna hopefully be close to your values. Don't vote R's and D's just to vote R's and D's. Actually figure out what you're voting for. Actually figure out that sometimes if you're a staunch Democrat or Republican has a good idea, I promise you we do, 1 or 2. And I promise you if you're a strong D, there's a Democrat that has an idea. And we can work really hard and come, because you to put the two together and you're gonna come up with a great idea. So R's and D's shouldn't matter, but yeah, I'm a staunch Republican. There's the end.
Okay. Kent, you are welcome to tackle this subject if you wish.
I too, like John, it's going to take pretty quick, but I too am a Republican. One thing I can say about working with the city government, I think we pretty much put that aside. I don't think it's ever been mentioned in the nearly 12 years that I've been on council. So like John said, there are good ideas on both sides of the fence, and we just need to listen to those. Again, the leader who listens. So I want to do that and be, again, transparent on all those issues, okay?
All right. Jeff, how would you like to answer that question?
So I'm a conservative Republican. Kind of like John, man, if I could talk about this for 20 minutes, this would be a lot more enjoyable. But what I would like to say on that is a municipal election is not Republican versus Democrat. That's the way it's structured. I personally believe that our state made an effort 2 years ago to turn these elections into exactly what we're talking about. I think I led the fight. I think these guys can testify that there was an effort. This election wouldn't be held when it is being held had we not stood up. This election would have been held in November with the rest of them. And I'll just be honest with you, I don't trust the state of New Mexico. I wouldn't trust them to build a doghouse for me. They want something. They wanted control of our elections, and this council and mayor was strong enough to say, no, we're doing just fine. We'll take care of our own elections, thank you, kindly. But while we're on the subject, we do need to listen to both sides of the coin. Well, I guess we're done, unless you can give me that 8 seconds.
7, 6. All right, Luis, how would you like to answer this question?
Yes. Well, actually, my party is the party of Artesia. That's what I'm about. As I mentioned in my very opening statement, that I'm about unity. And this election is nonpartisan. Folks need to understand that. And this trying to create these party, that's what's dividing the community. You should know that. You should realize that. And that's what's tearing folks apart. Because up to this point, in my close to 13 years on the city council and school board, never was I ever asked what party I represented. And we got all kinds of work done, and I have friends here that I didn't know were Republicans, and it doesn't matter. But that's the kind of stuff that's coming and into our community. Folks need to believe that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Terry?
Never have we asked, or I couldn't tell you who's Republican, who's Democrat on this council. Honest to goodness. It doesn't figure into it. It is a nonpartisan council that has been representing you for years. I've served, like I told you before, under 4 mayors. Nobody ever asked. Nobody ever asked, and it doesn't matter to me. As long as you come on board, you're ready to go to work, do the best you can, listen to the community, listen to their issues. When you bring issues to you, it doesn't matter if they're Republicans, Democrats, what? It's an issue that needs to be addressed, and I think that's how it should be handled. Thank you, sir.
Very good, thank you. Okay, question number 6, and we get to start with, let's see, well, we did 6, so Kent, you're next on this one. You get 2 minutes on this question. Do we need a city manager? If so, why? If not, why not?
It's kind of ironic you asked that question. Mayor Miller spoke about this question. And he was at a meeting in Ruidoso, a town much smaller than us, during certain parts of the months. And he was sitting at a meeting, and they had a vice city, chairman or whatever you want to call him. And he's like, well, if they're paying, they've got a vice and they've got a regular city manager, so their money out in salaries on something that the mayor could probably do. And again, I do think the mayor has to dedicate time at City Hall, hold regular hours, be accessible to the community. I know the phone's going to ring. You'll get plenty of emails and things like that. But I want to be available to that. And I just don't think adding that to our budget I just don't think it's beneficial for us, for the city of Artesia.
Very good. Kent, what are your, I'm sorry, Kent, Jeff, what are your thoughts on this question?
So, like Councilor Bratcher, I disagree. I would never, not at this point in the game, recommend that we use a city manager. We've used the mayor council form of government for years. It's worked fine for us. Probably the cheapest city manager you get these days is about $150,000. So you know, you could buy a lot of playground material with that, or whatever you chose to do with it. I don't feel like we're at a level to where that's a real need for us. Thank you.
Very good. Luis, your opportunity on this question.
Yeah, thank you. I would tend to agree with these colleagues here that I don't think that's necessary at this point in time. I wouldn't say. Based on the research that I've done on that, it is cost prohibitive to have that. If we increased in size, that could change. But at this point, I would, my opinion, be that I wouldn't support city manager.
Okay. Very good. Terry?
Thank you, Gene. I'm opposed to it myself. The cost of to hire one, people don't realize, I guess, that under that type of government, the council itself has to delegate responsibilities over to them, and that should be responsibilities and authorities that remain within the council under the current system that we have with a mayor and a council. Other than that, I am opposed to it. I don't think we are large enough for it.
Very good. Okay, and John?
All right, I think we are right on the cusp of needing one, honestly. I know it's expensive. I know that it's going to cost money to the county or the city. The county has one, and what that's going to bring to the city is some stability, right? If a mayor changes every 4 years, your council can change quite often. It's going to bring a lot of stability to your city. So when the department heads are reporting to them, or when you have foundation work, and then you have a mayor change in the middle of the foundation, or whatever's going on, it just helps stabilize your government. Your department heads know who they're responding to, how things are flowing. Are we there yet? Not quite. But we're pretty close. You know, there's some towns that are a lot smaller than us that have them. Of course, there's towns just bigger than us that have them. It's something that you do have to keep in the back of your mind. It's important to remember it, and it's important because that stability it's going to bring to your local government as your elected officials are changing, that can be a constant, and that's really important.
Very good. All right, question number 7, and then we'll take a break. Is that okay? Wait a minute, I sound like somebody that spoke to the nation the other day. I better stop that. Okay, Jeff, you get to take this one first. You have no idea what I'm talking about, right? Jeff, let me ask you this. How would you assess our police and fire departments, and as mayor, what changes would you propose that we make in that area?
So, news comments, I just went ahead and prepared something for this one. So, retention of police officers and emergency response personnel is an issue in the selection, and rightfully so. We've most recently shared COVID relief funding with not only police and fire employees, but with all of our employees. In a cooperative effort with a local benefactor, we have also recently paid out retention bonuses to, once again, all employees, not just police and fire. Talking with our police and fire chiefs recently, I am told that our biggest pay disparity is at the entry level. I looked yesterday, I believe, and the county right now is paying a starting deputy $19.51 an hour. We as a city have got to tighten that gap. Currently, I don't feel like we're paying our entry-level fire or police officers. These are new recruits that have not been to training yet. We're going to have to pay them better. So we need to tighten that gap. What we cannot do is chase wages between the city and the county. One entity's going to win that battle, and the other one's going to lose. I will never share my loyalty between the city and the county. My sole duty and responsibility lies within the city. The city has got to calculate both what is a fair salary and ensure it is sustainable. It cannot be funded with short-term relief funding like we've received over the last year and a half due to COVID that has gave us such a rosy bank account. You can't pay wages out of that. That is non-recurring funds. An across-the-board salary survey for all departments is one of my first priorities to ensure we are paying our employees fairly and competitively. One other point I have proposed for years that the city establish nice short-term, city-owned affordable housing for entry-level employees or those relocating to our city. This will help fill that gap while those employees work toward their own home. I intend to move forward with this plan when elected. I will work with both chiefs to ensure our efforts and resources are being expended for the best expected outcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Luis, you can take this question next, if you would, please. Around a minute. Yeah, how would you assess our police and fire departments, and as mayor, are there any changes that you would make in how those departments are done?
Well, I don't want to just throw a bunch of words out there, but basically, Councilor Yazzie hit it right on the head. I mean, we've been working on this. I say we. I've been off the council for a few years now, but it's been a reoccurring problem over and over. And he's hit every one of the possible solutions that we discussed when I was also on the Police and Fire Committee as well. And it's not magic. It's going to require, it is, to use Commissioner Henry's terminology, is proactive working with the county, but I still feel it's some legislation that requires somewhere, whether it's the county level or the state, to even this problem out, because we're just going from one agency to the other, back and forth, and that's my answer.
Very good. Terry, how would you answer that question?
Well, it keeps falling back to the money and stuff. We are in a dilemma right now. Police and fire garner over 61% of the entire city budget. 61%. The rest of the departments operate on that, less than that. Money, yeah, they need to be paid more. Wish we could. It's not that we're not wanting to, but we have other entities within the city that we have to look at as well to survive. You want your trash hauled, your water done, you want that commode to flush whenever you need to. I mean, there's other things goes on in the city. Police and fire, and I'm proud of them, but just to keep trying to match money with county and stuff like that, we can't.
Very good. John, you have a minute on this question.
Hopefully there's a little grace because there's a lot to it. So 3.5 years ago, the county was in the same spot. We were about 12 to 13 officers down. We had a choice to make. We either start moving our pay up or continue to lose officers. At that time, an elected official from Artesia came to me and said, John, if you do that, you're going to be chasing wages for the rest of your life. Well, we did it. Eddy County had to County, Hobbs, Carlsbad, Chavez County, and Roswell. Unfortunately, at that time, we moved our wages up, and in that 3.5 years, nobody has been chasing wages. We haven't. Everything has stayed pretty consistent. When we talk about the pay discrepancy between the county and the city, the next thing you've got, right now the county pays less than Carlsbad City Police, but our benefits are better. There's other ways to do it than just throwing money at it as far as the starting salary. But we have got to make a decision to protect the city. We can no longer say, oh, well, we don't have money, we don't have the money. We didn't have the money at the county either. There was an oil dip, if you remember at that time. We had to find the money because it's protecting your citizens. I've got a lot more, but there you go.
Kent, you have the opportunity on this question, if you would, please.
Okay, right. Terry did mention the budget right now, and we budgeted for GRT income of 1.4 million a year, a month for 12 months. Right now, we're at $4.5 million. We're over budget, so we're in the black. So we do have some money out there, and I do think, and you guys, we had horrible 19 and 20, and I'm sorry, 20 and 21 because of COVID. And I do think there's a way to pay these employees to get competitive and have the, again, when you call 911, you're expecting the cavalry to show up, and we need to work on that, and that's one of the things that we've got to loosen the purse strings a little bit.
Very good. We've gotten through the first half of our questions. We've been up here a little over an hour, so we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we will come back in 10 minutes and conclude our Meet the Mayor forum tonight. Thank you so much.
And for folks listening on the radio here, you've been listening to KSVP and KSVP TV's coverage of the Artesia Municipal Candidate mayoral election. We'll have more of it after this commercial break. Stay tuned.
On for your Artesia Bulldogs. This Friday night, don't miss a doubleheader as your Bulldogs and Lady Bulldogs take on the Eagles of Hobbs High, live from the Bulldog Pit. AM 990 and 93.7 FM KSVP and KSVPTV.com are your home for the Bulldogs in southeastern New Mexico. The action begins with the Lady Bulldogs at 5:30 and the boys at 7 p.m. Bulldogs versus Hobbs Eagles, Friday starting at 5:30 on KSVP AM and FM and at KSVPTV.com.
Due to more than 5% of the Artesia High School population reporting a positive COVID test result over the past 14 days, fans attending Friday night's varsity basketball games versus Hobbs will be limited to 700. For fans who have purchased reserved seats, those tickets will be honored at the door. Activity pass holders may pick up their tickets at the Bulldog Pit from noon to 4 on Friday. General admission tickets will also be sold during this time. Masks are required for entry. Social distancing is requested. The game will be broadcast on KSVP Radio and at KSVPTV.com.
Vehicles ain't perfect and they're prone to bust, but you can always take them to a team you trust at Big O. Big O Tires. If your ride is broke, needs a fix, come on down, we'll take care of it quick at Big O. Big O Tires. Whatever the problem will ease your fears, we got experience nearly 60 years at Big O. Big O Tires. You need skilled help? The St. Mirage is a team of experts in our garage at Big O. Big O Tires.
Right now, come in and save $100 instantly on select sets of 4 tires from Hankook, Toyo, Continental, Nitto, General, Pirelli, Goodyear, and Nexen. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Installation charges extra. Required on all 4 tires. Disposal fees extra and up to 10% shop fee based on non-discounted regular retail price not to exceed $35 where permitted. Not valid with other offers. Valid at participating locations. Expires 1/30/2022.
Holy guacamole! The best guacamole in the Pecos Valley is at La Fonda Restaurant in Artesia. Holy guacamole! Everything is coming in fresh by the truckload. Avocados, green chilies, jalapenos, tomatoes, and onions. The makings of our signature salsa, golden fried chili rellenos, and of course our guacamole. Holy guacamole, what are you waiting for? La Fonda Restaurant, 210 West Main in Artesia, with plenty of parking off Highway 285. Holy guacamole!
Lobo Trucking, a leader in the industry, is currently hiring CDL drivers with tanker endorsement, and they want you. Lobo Trucking is looking for kill truck, winch truck, and hot oil operators, plus day and night vacuum truck drivers for their locations in Artesia and Hobbs. And they offer a $1,000 sign-on bonus. Lobo Trucking offers competitive pay and a great working environment, plus insurance, vacation, and 401k, and a $1,000 sign-on bonus. Call Steve at 575-391-1331 and drive for the best with Lobo Trucking. Lobo Trucking is an equal opportunity employer.
PVT gives you a smarter home with PVT security and home automation, powered by Total Connect. Connecting with PVT allows you to protect, monitor, and control your home quickly, conveniently, and from anywhere that you have an internet-connected smart device. PVT's offices and technicians here in southeastern New Mexico provide peace of mind with a security or smart home solution for every budget. Call PVT today at 575-748-1241 or visit pvt.com. Make sure to ask us about our contract buyout program.
Barbecue is back in Artesia. Rebel Daughters Barbecue Food Truck is now open, located at 712 West Main in Artesia. Open each Friday at 11. Don't miss your chance at the best barbecue in town, because when it's gone, it's gone. Until the next Friday, that is. Rebel Daughters Barbecue offers pulled pork or brisket lunch plates that include a side and drink. Also try their ribs, sausage, pulled pork, beef brisket, or smoked turkey sold by the pound. Hot and ready to hit your dinner table. Rebel Daughters Barbecue Food Truck, serving you the best meat on Main Street every Friday at 11 in Artesia.
For over 77 years, you've counted on Forest Tire Company. Forest Tire knows that just being there for you is what matters most. That's why Michelin packs more innovation inside its tires to maximize performance without sacrificing capabilities, so you can continue to go the extra mile to be there for the ones who matter most. Be it your car, truck, RV, or semi, trust your tires to the folks who know more about tires than anyone else. Forest Tire, keeping you rolling since 1944.
Sure, you can inspect your own roof, get out that rickety ladder, crawl around up there and try to spot the problem until... Or you could call the experts at Do Right Roofing. Do Right Roofing has quality products for any type of roof. They can even install seamless gutters. Do Right Roofing will inspect your roof and give you a free estimate fast. Keep your feet on the ground. Call Do Right Roofing today.
575-623-2273. Let Do Right do your roof right.
Find them fast in names and numbers. It's the big produce savings sale at Fens Country Market in Artesia. Fresh leaf lettuce, just $1.49 a pound. Mellow sweet honeydew, only 99 cents a pound. Fresh green onions, just 99 cents a pound. And fancy eggplant, only 99 cents a pound at Fens Country Market in Artesia. And right now, Lay's chips, assorted flavors, 2 for $5 at Fens Country Market in Artesia.
What does it mean to be a world-class university? To start, being ranked in the top 2% of universities in the world, and to be the only designated R1 highest research activity university in the state. It's about creating the most opportunities for students. And at the University of New Mexico, we do just that by offering affordable, top-tier education year after year and awarding millions in scholarships to our students. So, what are you waiting for? Apply to UNM at apply.unm.edu.
If you're missing a tooth or several teeth, a dental implant may be the ultimate solution. Implants look and feel so much like real teeth that you probably forget you have an implant. Maupin and Brown Dentistry is one of New Mexico's most experienced implant providers, with literally thousands of implant patients who are absolutely delighted with the results. Call Maupin and Brown today for an evaluation. You'll be surprised how affordable implants can be. Maupin and Brown, your choice for experienced, state-of-the-art dentistry.
Is pain holding you back? Artesia General Hospital's orthopedics team is here to get you moving again. With our trusted providers and innovative treatments, you can expect better patient outcomes and quicker recoveries than the national average. Appointments are available in Artesia or Carlsbad for a full continuum of bone, joint, and muscle care. Whether playing with your grandkids, running a race, or working in the garden, get back to doing what moves you. Request your appointment today at artesiageneral.com/orthoappt.
You hear the slogans all the time. 21 means 21, and if you drink, don't drive. But plenty. You could lose your license or your car. You could lose the respect of family and friends. You could lose your job, or you could even lose your life. Heed the warnings. Police are on the lookout. Even one is too many. Remember, 21 means 21, and if you drink, don't drive. This message brought to you by Eddy County DWI.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Joe Biden says any Russian troop movements across Ukraine's border would constitute an invasion, saying Moscow would pay a heavy price for such an action. It was the latest White House effort to clear up comments Biden made a day earlier when he suggested that a minor incursion by Russia into Ukrainian territory could result in a more measured response by the United States and its allies. His comments come as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken prepares to meet Friday in Geneva with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in a high-stakes bid to ease tensions that appears likely to fail. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 313 points, the Nasdaq dropping 186, the S&P 500 lower by 50, crude oil down 6 cents to 86.90 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Naramore with your Pecos Valley weather. Mainly clear out there tonight, but much colder. The overnight lows are falling from the low to middle teens. We're going to quickly rebound to the low 50s by Friday afternoon with wall-to-wall sunshine coming our way. A little sunshine for Saturday. A very low-end chance of a snow shower early, especially near the Roswell area. Highs on Saturday rebounding to the mid-40s. And then sunny on Sunday with highs closer to 50. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Naramore.
With the SRN News Business Report, I'm John Scott. Stocks ended sharply lower on Wall Street. And the benchmark S&P 500 closed at a 3-month low as corporate earnings and inflation continued to hold investors' attention. The S&P lost 1.1%. The Dow fell 0.9%. The Nasdaq slumped 1.3% after rising by 2% earlier in the day, mostly due to the reversal in technology stocks. As investors prepare for higher interest rates, shares in pricey tech companies and other expensive growth stocks look relatively less attractive. The Dow down 313 points, closing at 34,715. The Nasdaq lost 186 to 14,154. The S&P dropped 50 points to 4,482. The New York oil fell 6 cents to $86.90 a barrel. With business, I'm John Scott.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back to KSVP TV and KSVP Radio's coverage of the Artesia Municipal Election Mayoral Candidate Forum. We're broadcasting live here from the Ocotillo Performing Arts Center in Artesia. We're ready for the second half of questions. We're going to turn things over to our moderator, KSVP owns Gene Dow. Gene, take it away.
Welcome back to our Meet the Mayor Candidate Forum tonight. My name is Gene Dow. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. I think we've got our mayoral candidates passed. I was asked how many questions we have left. I've got 4 pages. Oh, that's a duplicate of the first pages, so I think we're okay. We're going to do one more round of questions, 5 questions, and we're not going to get to all the topics you probably would like to know about or have us ask. Hopefully we're covering the hot ones or the top ones, but all of these candidates are available. They want to meet you. There'll be some time after the program tonight and before the campaign, during the campaign, before you go out and vote. Please take time to talk to each of these candidates, ask them your questions, and that will help you make an informed decision when you go and vote in June. No, I'm just kidding. It's March 1st. So. All right, I shouldn't try to be funny. I'm sorry. All right, let's begin our second round of questions. Luis, you're going to get to answer this question first. In your mind, would you list in order the top 5 priorities that you have for the city of Artesia? Top 5 priorities for you. Okay.
Okay, the first one would be this topic that keeps bouncing back here on police and fire and getting that stabilized. I believe, and I just mentioned what I thought would be the cure to resolve that. It's going to require that. I'm sorry, we can't keep throwing money at it. It has to be established that there's an agreement somewhere within the various engines. Secondly is I think we need to take care of our veterans and our mental health crisis that's occurring with them. It's tremendously a tremendous problem. It's hurting our community to see the things that are going on with our veterans. Third, I guess, would be housing, and along that nature, trying to get affordable housing and finding place for folks to live. Fourth would probably be, since I'm a senior citizen now, and I don't know when that came about, but somebody told me somewhere after 60, and I said, it's all in your mind. But still, I will say that I think more attention needs to be paid to them, because, for this reason, that I think that there's a tremendous resource with our senior citizens that could occupy a lot of positions that other folks wouldn't take, and they take very little training, and they're just the hardest working individuals. I mean, I know that, you know. So more attention has to be creatively using other resources, human resources, to meet some of those things. And I guess 5 would be probably just continuing with the plans that were set.
Very good. Terry, your top 5 priorities for Artesia.
Would be housing. We have to have affordable housing, not 3-4 bedroom houses, but something for the entry level employees that are just starting out in their careers and what have you. They have to have a place to live. And the more people we can get to living in Artesia, the better off we're going to be as far as tax basis and stuff like that. Police, fire, we've got to continue to look for resolutions to be able to put more officers, maintain officers and fire department personnel. We lose fire department personnel too, to whip. Can't blame these people. Benefits, money, and stuff like that. But we have got to look for things like that. John spoke on it earlier, and we have had discussions and have upped some of the benefit packages towards these, not cash up front, but benefit packages.
1 minute, I'm sorry. All right, John, in your mind, the top 5 priorities for Artesia.
Okay, well, as I said in my opening, I'll make the first 3 quick because they haven't changed. Emergency services, obviously a top priority. Quality of life, top priority. Housing has got to go. Housing and quality of life are very intermingled, though. So you can't put one ahead of the other. But one thing I would put right after fire is a focus and a vision, right? We've got to understand where we're going. We've got to understand what direction we're taking the city as a council, as a group, and as a city. So that's got to become a priority. We've got to understand what the citizens expect from us. But I also think within that quality of life needs to be growing the economy, because we keep talking about money and how we're short on money and that. Well, how you do that is you create housing, which creates property tax increases, which is good, right? That's a tax that isn't passed on to y'all. It's through your house. It's not an increase in a tax. It's that. And then growing your economy, when you establish businesses, you have higher GRTs. With higher GRTs, you're able to pay more for new things. So, those are the 5 I would look at. No particular order except for emergency services, number 1, top of the list, way up there.
Very good. Kent, your top 5 priorities for Artesia.
Okay, during one of the council meetings, Jeremy Kern was there discussing the issue, and he even mentioned the fact that maybe we raised taxes to help fund police and fire. Now, anytime we talk about raising taxes, that can be touchy, but police and fire, the retention of them, our employees as a whole, a better retirement package for them that's local, that they can call or walk into and talk instead of doing a touchstone, affordable housing, quality of life, like John said. We need restaurants that are open on weekends, things for the kids to do. I know my son, with the town they live in, they have a roller rink. Does a fantastic business. Things like that. And the infrastructure. We have to keep up with the infrastructure. We put in new pumps for the new west side of town.
Very good. Jeff, in your mind, top 5 priorities for Artesia.
Well, I have a lot of things I'd like to do, so I scribbled some things on my phone real quick, trying to give them some kind of priority. One thing I haven't mentioned tonight yet that is at the very top of my list is I want to develop a community action council made up of citizens just like you. 8 men or 8 women and a mayor shouldn't sit up there and decide how we spend our money. If we have extra money and we have projects that the community's wanting to get done, we should be able to hear from those people and put those down as our priorities. I think you could probably at this point probably survey the audience and they would tell you we need a new rec center. I happen to agree with that. I have 2 grandkids that play basketball and was out there the other night and the parking lot's just plumb full. So things like that. Resolve the pay disparity within the police and fire. We've been over that. Salary survey for all employees would probably be my 3rd goal. My 4th goal is to establish short and long-term goals for the city via this Community Action Council. And then finally, review our city master plan and see where we're at.
Very good. Terry, you get this question first. 2 minutes on this one. You hear this from time to time over the years. A lot of people want to see growth in the community, but some have the perception that the powers that be or the city fathers are not interested in growth. What is your position on how active the mayor should be in pursuing growth and economic development opportunities?
Gene, I think that the mayor ought to be very involved with that. Currently, we're utilizing Chamber of Commerce with Bob Walkner. He's helping us. He's looking for venues to come in, restaurants, retail stores, stuff like that. The city is working with him to try to get that done. I think the more, it goes back to that quality of life. If you have restaurants to go out and eat, shows, stuff like that, we've got some nice parks and things, but we do need to get the housing up and then get those retail stores in here, get the restaurants, offer more like that. So.
Okay. Very good. John.
Well, I think this ties in with what I just said. There's 2 things that are going to come together really hard, and we can't put the cart before the house. If we don't start creating housing really soon, we're in a lot of trouble. Before we bring in more restaurants and more things for us to do, which we all want, we don't have a workforce. If we don't create a place for the workforce to live, and I can speak from that, right? And I know there's folks in the audience that have businesses. It's a lot of fun right now, right? I mean, you're covering your shift, your friend's shift, and the other lady's shift because there's only one of you there. You know, it's terrible. So we've got to create some housing to start bringing people in. Well, pretty much everyone has said, we've got to have houses that when our kids, what we're trying to bring back to Artesia to continue the growth of Artesia, they've got to have a place to live. You know, we don't have to buy low-income houses. We've got to build houses. And as folks within town start moving up, trading down, all of a sudden you create a market. We don't have a great market right now. You know, everything is fairly stagnant because there's not a lot of new. You have a few new communities popping up. We have got to create a housing market so we can create a workforce.
Okay, thank you, John. Kent.
I'd like to end that with an amen. As mayor, even as councilman, I talk with Rob Wachter a lot, and I ask Rob what's going on, what's shaking. Well, I'm getting Popeyes or this and that, and I said, all right, where are the people going to come from that's going to work at Popeyes? Where are they going to come from that's going to work at Starbucks, so on and so forth. John's been in the restaurant business before. My parents were in the restaurant business for over 40 years. It's always an issue. A lot of times back in those days, we had kids working the evening shift. So we have to have some affordable housing for those entry-level workers so they'll be able to be here to staff these places that we want. And that is our number one goal. And that we have got to do that.
Very good, thank you. Jeff,
So I believe it was Councilor Bratcher that mentioned that we have Rob Walker that works for the Chamber of Commerce. So there's a really good bunch of people down there, Haley and her crew and Rob, that do a good job. They send out notifications statewide, trying to attract attention to Artesia and get business interest in Artesia. As a mayor, I think that we can double down on those efforts. I feel like our planning department needs to take a larger role in pursuing some of these, what you might call amenities that our citizens are wanting. Right now, our planning department consists mainly of issuing building permits and doing inspections and making sure you're keeping the weeds out of your alley. I think our planning department needs to play a much bigger role in building this town than what they do now, which in turn keeps our city council and mayor more abreast of what's going on and allows us to actually participate in trying to put some resources towards these things as they become available. So, thank you.
Okay. And Luis, you get the last opportunity to answer the powers that be question.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily the powers that be, but I think there is a general feeling that the size of the community is appreciated by a lot of folks. Okay, and but if people were to decide that they wanted to get increase the economy here and return more businesses, there are a lot of requirements, and I've spoken with Rob also. I mean, CVS, let's say they wanted to set, if you wanted one here, their requirements, their corporate offices need a corner lot, so much traffic. There are a lot of things that just not available here. Now, to tear off of what the councilors here said about, yeah, it's going to require future affordable housing for all these if you started increasing. I'm just telling you what would be needed, not necessarily that I support or don't support growing. It's whatever the citizens of this community desire.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. John, you get this next question. What is your understanding? I know these guys are counselors, or former counselors, so they might have I might phrase it a little bit differently, but what's your understanding of our current budget, surpluses, and what specific changes in spending or hiring would you propose or support as mayor?
Well, I think we've covered it quite extensively tonight. I think what we're going to have to do is take a good hard look at the budget. I understand that, and we do the same thing in the county. It's our responsibility, right? We have to put some aside for the rainy day. But we also have to understand that right now it might be raining, right? I mean, we're down on the police force. That's kind of a rainstorm that needs to be shored up. So, we've got to take a good hard look at the budget. I would challenge the budget committee. I would participate fully in trying to make sure that we can find the monies that we need to make sure that the basics are covered, right? Police and fire has to be covered. And we're beating a dead horse up here. So hopefully there's something else we can talk about later. But, police and fire have to be reassured because as citizens, that's what we expect. That's what you should expect. So we've got to take good looks at that budget. We've got to understand, Parks and Recreation is a huge push right now. A lot of folks are contacting me. We've put a lot of stuff out there talking about it. We got to make sure parks are there. There's good folks in those departments. We've got to make sure they have the right budget to take care of Parks and Rec the proper way. We can't have parks that aren't being mowed. We can't have. Got to make sure that we're taking pride in what we have and that we have budgeted properly to make sure that we continue to grow on what we already have. We've got some really great stuff here. We're not utilizing it because I don't think we're properly budgeting to fix it, to keep it up, and to take care of it. There's a lot of problems out there, and I understand money doesn't grow on tree. I get that all the time. Money doesn't grow on tree. Yeah, I get it. I can't find the tree either. I wish I could. But it's not out there. But we've got to take that look. We're the city of champions for a reason, and that budget is what's going to make us continue to grow in that proper way and continue to take care of the great assets that we have been given. I don't know how much time's left, but.
That's it. All right, Kent, you get to answer this. Obviously, we're getting now to the counselors that I hope know what the budget situation is for Artesia.
I want to tell you, standing in these shoes, sometimes it's not easy. It's easy to govern when you got plenty of money, right? Very easy. It's pretty hard when you have to govern when a GRT is down and you have to make some tough decisions. We do need to, right now we're sitting at a budget in the black of at least 4.5. We got some in reserves, which we're required to have in reserves. We're gonna have to spend some money. We've held off on capital expenses for a few years. Now we're gonna have to start loosening some purse strings and buy these police cars. Fire trucks, if you know, they're not cheap. Things like that. So we have to loosen some of those purse strings in order to achieve these goals. And it is nice to have some in the bank, but we also have to address the needs of each department. We've talked about infrastructure. We've talked about contracting some of that out at a cheaper rate than what it would be to do that. We've actually got that in the works.
Okay. Jeff, if you would tackle this question, please.
So actually our city budget is sitting in really good condition right now. Please understand a large part of that is due to COVID relief funds that we were able to get from the state and the federal government. A lot of it's due to this close to $1 billion expansion project at Navajo. The GRT we've been able to receive off that for the last year. That has helped to put our reserves way into the black. So it would be real easy to say, well, this council's being chintzy and not spent money over the last 3 to 4 years that they've brought in. This money just became available due to COVID and this little uptick in our economy due to this expansion. So with that being said, yes, we do have money in reserves. We have, as John has referred to, we need to spend some of this money, take care of our assets, do some of this maintenance work that needs to be done. We have some really good things in place. Get our parks back up in shape. There's some reasons probably behind the scenes that have led to the parks getting in the condition they're in, but my plan is to get them looking pristine. Thank you.
Very good. Luis, if you would please.
Yeah, well, I've been off of the council for a few years now, so I'm not privy, but I do attend the budget committee meetings, and I know that there is a surplus. However, I was also on the council at the time when we had to do that across the board, 10% cut, which hurt terribly. You'll never outlive that or outgrow that feeling, these counselors. So it's so hard to just go spend money. But I will say that one of the other things that I consider is that working with I'm so grateful to our benefactors in the community that come when we needed them to help us with whether funding the police and fire or the library or building something for the community. They come through. But one of the things that I would look at is to visit with them and pull them and say, look, let's get strategic about this, because we definitely rely on their help all the time.
Very good. Terry?
You know, Gene, we have been blessed this year with extraordinary income as far as the COVID monies. We had a lawsuit for 7 years with the tax and rev department up there. We settled that this year. That gave us a pretty good boost. They had been holding out unfairly more than they should have. We got that settled up. Yesterday, we had a budget and finance committee meeting. Some of the capital projects that we've been having to set back, we have funded. Those came out last night. We're opening up some of the positions that had been frozen. We give those back to them. But we've still got some money left All of these things that we're talking about, we have taken care of yesterday, we believe, as best we could.
Very good. Well, we've gotten to the point, I'm looking at the clock, and I said we'd have you out of here 5 minutes ago, but we're going to go ahead and go to our closing statements. We did not get a chance to go through all the questions. I'm sure you have some questions for the candidates, and again, I would encourage you to meet with them one-on-one as we get closer and closer to making a decision as to who we're going to vote for. So, and I will ding the bell on the closing comments. I didn't do it on the opening ones, but I will keep us at 2 minutes here. Give us your final 2-minute pitch, please. 2 minute.
1 minute, so we'll ad-lib some of this. So I'll read you what I wrote, since I think I can get it done in a minute. As we here and those listening depart tonight, I'd like to leave you with a message to ponder. As I expressed in my opening remarks and hopefully reinforced to you through the questions that I answered tonight, I have a full vesting in our community. My livelihood and the jewels I cherish are part of this community. My family helped to build Artesia into what it is today, and my immediate and extended family worked beside me to make Artesia a better place to live. Artesia is and always will remain my home. I tell you that as a candidate for mayor, I will always put our citizens before politics, all of them. Every individual in this town has something to offer. Don't ever think they don't, and we can't let them think they don't either. Everybody matters. Reaching those people through some of these outside agencies that the city helps to fund, through some of your church ministries, your youth groups, whatever it is you use to reach these people, they need to feel like they're included in this community, because they are, and they always will be in my mind. So I'll fight for your right to live as free Americans and residents of our city. As the political winds of our state and nation blow, I will diligently work to defend us from any grief they may try to bring. I'm not afraid of conflict. You can ask my family. There's times they just don't talk about it because they know what's going to happen. Because I'm going to go on my little rants. But anyway, unfortunately, the powers of municipal government are limited, but our voices should not be. I vow to communicate to our citizens and keep them informed. Together, we can preserve and improve the values and traditions that each person holds dear. An oath of office still means something to me. It is a promise to follow through on the campaign that elected me. I would truly appreciate your vote on March 1st for real, goal-based, and measurable change. And thank you.
Luis Flores, make your final pitch.
Thank you, Ed. I'll give whatever remains out of my time to Terry. I only had a minute too. I was prepared for 1 minute there. However, during my opening statement, you heard me state my thoughts regarding what I consider the important qualities that I would have in order to properly represent our city. In addition, I've served my community for 7.5 years as city councilor, 2 years as mayor pro tem, and 5 years on the Artesia School Board. Way back at its inception, I was vice president of the committee to that anti-drug and crime that was established here. And so at every juncture of our city where we had these critical periods, I said, I stepped forward to help where I could. Okay, that's my thing. What I would like you folks here tonight and those listening at home to know is that I'm about unity. This is an unprecedented time in our nation's history. There are many issues impacting the cities across the country. We are beginning to see that stress here in our community. I value our town, its diverse people, restaurants, and our great schools, but we must work together to ensure that we do not go backwards. Rather, let's roll up our sleeves and continue to make our exemplary city of champions. You can call me anytime, visit, or email. It's great to be a Bulldog. Thank you.
John Henry. John, well, no, I'm going in the order that we introduced, so you're next. Yeah.
Well, I'm like everyone else. I had a minute, so I'll go through mine and then we're going to ad-lib some. That's great. So I read a quote the other day that said, "Be loyal to your future, not your past." And it resonated with me. Artesia is a fiercely loyal community. The term bleeding orange isn't just for our schools. It's how we feel about the whole town as a whole. We can appreciate our past successes as our past leadership who selflessly serve their neighbors, whether in office, work, or ministry. There's so many places one can make a difference here, and they do. But living on past successes for a city will keep it stagnant. Living day to day and kicking the can down the road and not making those hard decisions, that's not an option either. My record is proven. My message is concise and consistent. If you want Artesia to remain the same way it is with the approach of slow and steady and the same leadership that we've had for the past several years, I'm not your candidate. Because I desire change, growth, improvements. I desire for every resident to be excited about the future of Artesia. As I said earlier, it's time to dream big, Artesia, because Artesia is 100% worth it. So that's what I had for my closing, but I'd like to add some more to it, because something that happened to us today that I think is very important to this, that I think we lose sight of. I am a county commissioner, and I understand that some folks wonder, how is that going to help or hurt? And I think the one thing that we all have to realize is the county and the city should be one, right? A strong county makes a strong city, and a strong city makes a strong county. We've got to realize, as the mayor of Artesia, a lot of the folks that are coming in to buy your goods, to go to our schools, to go to our restaurants that we're excited to see every day, they live just right outside of the city. So they can't vote for us as mayor. They might not vote for us as city council, but they're just as important, because they're going to use our parks. They're going to use our pools. So please understand, I am fiercely loyal to Artesia, but a strong county and a strong city, it's not a bad thing.
Terry Hill.
Okay, I didn't have anything prepared tonight. I was here to answer questions. I've been here, like I said, 1957. My dad and stepdad moved us here. Going through the school system, went off to college, come back, went in the oil field, got married, and we raised our kids. Elaine and I have been married 53 years, same place. We enjoy the town, we love it. We have opportunities to leave, we're here. I've enjoyed my time on the council. It's been a pleasure. It has been an honor to have served the city in that capacity. I would ask again to now allow me the opportunity to lead as the mayor. I as well have ideas towards the housing, towards the police and fire, towards the entire city departments. We do in fact have some issues within departments as far as getting permits, stuff like that. We need to address but anyway, I'm asking tonight for your vote. I've had experience on the council since 2005, but I would appreciate your vote. Okay, thank you.
And we will conclude with our closing comments from Kent Bratcher. Kent?
Just remember, on the ballot, it's under Alan Kent Bratcher. Okay. Only in Artesia. I mentioned that during an interview with Town Hall with several of you that were in the audience. Only in Artesia would we have a library like we have. Only in Artesia would we have a theater like we have. You look at when visitors come to town, I take them to the bowl, to the pit, to the auditorium, to the public safety complex. Only in Artesia. How do we do that? because we have the guts and the power to do that. And we draw upon our benefactors that are being so gracious to this city. And I chose to move back 34 years ago. I've served the city as a firefighter for 17 years. After I got out of that, my dad passed away shortly after that. I got on Planning and Zoning Committee, actually took his chair. And then I've been on council. So I've been serving the city for 30 years in some portion. And we have come a long way from the way we used to do budget to the way we do budget now. We used to do it line by line, and we'd be there till 1 or 2 in the morning. So we have streamlined that, and we ought to be proud of what we do, only in Artesia. And to commit to you, I've got the time, and like I've told others, I'm retired. I'll be able to spend some time at the office and address those concerns. And thanks, Gene, for putting it on, and thanks for everyone that was involved.
Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this tonight. Thank you so much, and we appreciate each and every one of you for doing this tonight. Thanks to all of you that came out in person. Thanks to those listening and watching online. I know we didn't get to all the questions that you would like us to ask. Maybe there were some answers that you need some clarification on or would like some further information on, but that's why we're holding these events, and I'm sure there'll be others where you'll have an opportunity to meet these candidates. We also encourage you to listen to KSVP over the next few weeks, as we'll be inviting all of the city council candidates, and there's several great people that are running for city council seats this year, and we're going to have them on the radio and give them a chance to talk to you as well. Thanks to Haley, thanks to Candace, again thanks to you, and thank you for attending tonight's Meet the Mayor Forum.
You've been listening to KSVP and KSVPTV.com's coverage of Artesia, the Artesia's Municipal Election Candidate Forum. If you missed any part, you can always go back and check it out at your leisure. Log on to KSVPTV.com. You'll find the Candidate Forum channel there, and you can go back and rewind, fast forward, and watch any parts you missed earlier this evening. That's going to do it for our broadcast today. You've been listening to 990 AM and 93.7 FM KSVP AM and FM Artesia, New Mexico. We're going to join you back into regularly scheduled programming. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you on down the road.